Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Last day we can say that. First of all, maybe go with Sandra for a change. I can start with you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
What should Canadians prepare for in 2023, do you think?
Well, I keep hearing that there may be another interest rate hike coming. So I actually think we've got to take a good look at our finances and start whittling away some of the needless expenses so that we don't get, ongoing sticker shock, which is sort of at least the last half of the year of 2022. Maybe buy some books on gardening and decide you're going to plant your own garden this coming spring. So I do think, based on like restaurants and you can barely get a reservation, I can't believe that a recession is imminent. But I do think that some of our expenses are going to hit us right over the head in just a little while. I mean, the longer we get to say your term is up with your bank loan or something, that's when I think it's going to hit. And then we're going to have to figure out what we're going to do. Maybe people will come back to work at that point. So some of the staff shortages out there might start to wane.
Gary Marr, do you have any helpful tips for our viewers?
Well, I think there's going to be another interest rate increase by the Bank of Canada. I think we will go into recession. I think that creates risk for people, but it also creates opportunities at the same time. Being prudent with your spending on an individual basis would be a good thing to do. It would also be a good thing for governments to do the same thing. But I think it also creates opportunities, as Sandra talked about, people coming back to work, maybe easing some of the labor shortages. In the marketplace, you look at companies that have perhaps ridden the marketplace down a bit. There might be buying opportunities for those that have free cash to do it. We've seen this pattern time and time again. I think it'll happen. It'll happen once more in 2023.
And Joe Oliver, what are your thoughts on these things?
Well, I think the first half of the year is going to be pretty rough, and we have to button down the hatches. A recession is coming, and there are all sorts of indications about that. Some are technical, and some are sort of fairly obvious. The more obvious one is that there really hasn't been we haven't been able to avoid a recession ever when the interest rates have been jacked up as frequently as they have in the past year. There's also what's called an inverted yield curve, where the interest rates on short-term debt is higher than the interest rates on medium and long-term debt. And we have that in both Canada and the United States, and that almost invariably leads to a recession. There's talk about a global recession, a recession in the United States, which is, of course, our biggest trading partner. We do 3/4 of our trade with the U.S., and that will hammer us. And we've got our own internal issues. So I'm afraid it's going to get somewhat worse before it gets better. I'm hopeful it won't be brutal. It's something that I think we can get out of, but it's going to be hurting in particular the people who are most vulnerable generally economically, and those who are most leveraged financially, including homeowners. And you may want to get into the home real estate issue a little bit later. But one of the concerns is the dreaded trigger rate, where interest rates sort of go up to a point where people who are on variable interest rates on fixed rates can no longer afford. Well, no, sorry, the renewal can no longer be afforded, but the trigger rate happens when the variable rates get so high that there isn't enough room in the mortgage to cover it, and all of a sudden the payments are boosted up. So we've got some financial vulnerability in Canada, which is greater than in the United States.